All right, welcome to pre-calculus. This is math 1240, okay, for CNM, for fall semester 2012, or 2022 rather. Okay, I'm going to be your instructor. My name is Mark Vanensteel, and you can call me Mark, you can call me Mr. P. I don't have a doctor, I don't have any kind of titles, so that's it. All right, so let me go through, I'll walk you through the syllabus a little bit. We should have Alex available. However, I have not set that up yet. I'll be getting some expert help tomorrow on that one. So if you're wondering, where the heck is it? Like, it's not up yet. So sit tight for a moment. I will, as soon as that is up, I will give us a tour of which buttons you push and where you go to get what materials, etc. Okay. So you should be able to have access to the book, etc., and all of that. Okay, so this is just me. Okay, let's see. I do Zoom. I'm going to try to do Zoom Monday through Thursday, 12 to 2. I recently encountered some medical difficulties, so I will let you guys know if there's a day I'm not going to make it because I've got a doctor's appointment or something. So just a heads up, I'm not going to be here tomorrow. Okay, but those are the planned days and times for Zoom. You don't have to turn your camera on. Sometimes it's nice if you do, but you don't have to. I'm not going to get offended. So we have all of that. Okay, so the Zoom information is listed there. That's my personal room, whatever. So that's how that's going to work. Okay. So one of the problems, or one of the things about this class is that you have to be able to recognize graphs. As such, you will not be able to use a graphing calculator on assessments, on exams. So it's going to be important for you as an engineer to be able to look at a pattern of dots and say, that kind of looks like, and it's nice if you have that information at the ready, okay? So a lot of the things that we do to make you, to memorize stuff is not just because we enjoy torturing you. It's because if you have this stuff ready and willing to go, then your calculus homework is not going to, you're not going to die of old age by the time you finish a problem. Okay, so that's one of the big things. So you don't have to memorize everything, but having a lot of stuff just available to you to be able to work on it is going to be a huge help. That's why we have you memorize certain things. Okay, so when you graph, you have to be able to recognize the pattern of dots and say, oh, that reminds me of this particular pattern. We should model this phenomenon in this particular way. Okay, so that's an important thing that you're going to be, that's an important skill that you're going to be needing to use. Okay, so let's see here. I've got some dates listed here. I hope this is showing up on screen. I guess I hope it is. We're sharing, okay. So we'll see. Okay, so let's see here. Attendance, it's online. If I see that you haven't logged in 2 weeks, I would probably send you an email to say, hey, are you still interested in doing this? I won't necessarily do this. This is up to you to drop, okay? So if you have not, if it comes to the point where we've taken our first test and you haven't, you can expect, I won't say a nasty email, but you can expect an email to say, are you still here? Are you still interested? And you have to let me know. And if you don't fix that situation, then I can drop you, okay? So be aware that that could happen, right? So one of the things that's new this semester is that we have proctoring for our exams. It does not have to be at a CNM campus. It can be elsewhere, but it has to be someplace where it's proctored, okay? Now at CNM, the college that we teach at here, they send me a little form. I've got a whole bunch of little options to check off. Can the student use scrap paper? Do they have a calculator? If so, what kind? All of that fun stuff. So I imagine that other community colleges have similar sort of protocols as far as figuring all of this out. At CNM, you have to bring a picture ID. They like you to use the CNM ID, but I don't think they're going to care if you show up with the driver's license. Okay, so other community colleges, if you're taking them elsewhere, will probably have very similar instructions. So please call ahead if it's, even if it is at CNM, to make sure, like, hey, can I bring my, can I use my driver's license? Just double check to make sure that that's going to happen. Okay, especially when we get close to finals, make sure you schedule this thing in advance because they get kind of packed. Because our testing center deals with all of the online classes that want to use that, but they also deal with, like, hey, I want to take my CPA exam, or I want to take my cosmetology exam. So all sorts of state tests or qualification tests, they administer all of that stuff too. Okay, so they get a little scheduled, they get a little busy on their schedule. So I would urge you to call ahead, try to make an appointment, try to earlier rather than later is usually your best bet. Okay, so let's see here. I try to minimize how many times you have to come to campus or how many times you have to travel. I usually like doing a quiz every other week because if you mess one up, it's not the end of the world. You have a chance to recover. You guys, I tried to balance how many times you have to drive to school versus how many, versus not trying to make things too high of a stakes. Okay, so we have each test. Okay, I've got the big 8 problems per, and I grade out of 6 points. So 8 times 6 would be 48. 6, you got it right. 5, you got it mostly right. That's a B. 4 points, that's a C. 3 points, that's a D. 2 points, 1 point, that's an F. Hopefully you won't see too many of those. Okay, so let's try to minimize that, but that's generally what I grade out of. Okay, that way it's really easy to see what's going on. Okay, so we have final. That's effectively the same kind of format that a test is going to be. When we get to the tests, I do go down I'll give you a test review. I'll tell you what kinds of problems I'm going to ask you. I will point out if there's any formulas you're going to need to know, like, hey, you're going to have this one memorized versus not. Okay, so our first week, we're going to be talking about composition of functions, and we're going to be talking about average rates of change. The way I usually write that problem is using the average rate of change formula, comma, and I'll write it down, find the average rate of change for. Okay, and that way you don't have to memorize it. But the reason why we make you memorize formulas or deal with that is simply because when you're doing your calculus homework next year, some of those problems get a little long. If you have to look up every formula every time you're going to do something, it's like playing music with going through and saying every good boy does fine to find all the notes. Okay, you're going to die of old age by the time you finish Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. Okay, so we want you to be able to finish your homework in a timely manner. That's why the memorization is there. Okay, so not everything has to be memorized, but there's reasons for why we have you memorize certain things. Okay, so calculator, again, we have a no graphy calculator, TI30X2, TI30X2. The S is there for solar. There is a battery operated one. I don't really care which kind you have. Solar is more reliable because you can always turn the lights on. It works. And then have that work. Okay, so that's how that's going to work. We have homeworks, and I will, again, tomorrow, I've already got an appointment. I'm going to be busy trying to put that up for you guys. So you will have access to homework as soon as possible. There's going to be a little assessment at the beginning in Alex, because Alex likes to get a little baseline about what you know, so they can give you it's what they call adaptive software. So they don't want to say it's artificial intelligence, but it isn't. All it does is try to predict what you don't know and ask you questions for that. Okay, so go through and do that. If I was told, like, if it's taking you more than 45 minutes to do that, just start clicking I don't know a lot. Okay, so give yourself 45 minutes to do this thing when you get it. If it's longer than 45 minutes, just get through what you can when you can, and you know, don't dwell too much on it. And on a similar note, when you're doing your homework, if you're staring at a homework problem and it's taking you an hour to do each homework problem, you should probably ask a tutor, you should ask me, you should ask a classmate, you should reach out for some help, because they should not be taking you that long. Okay. Worksheets, there aren't any up right now, but I will be putting some up. Worksheets are similar in that you're going to do them on regular paper with a pen. You're going to take a picture, click, and then submit that, and then I'll grade them. I grade them as check plus, check, check minus. So check plus, you did it right. Check, I got, there's a minor mistake in there somewhere. Check minus is usually you didn't follow the instructions. And then the zero, you didn't do it. Okay, so you'll see a little bit like what my comments are for that. And the worksheets in the before times, the worksheets were there to like force you to work in groups a little bit, because nobody wants to talk to each other the first week. So I would give you problems that were like extra hard on purpose to force you to talk to each other. So you're supposed to talk to each other for worksheets. I will tell you, like, hey, this worksheet would make a good quiz or a good test question. So you should treat it like, hey, I'm going to be responsible to be able to do this stuff. Not every worksheet is a good quiz question. Some of them are like, oh, I got to chew on this for a while. So that's not something that would be a good quiz question. Okay. They always have worksheet on them. So if you live in an area with a different community college, if you live in Albuquerque area and you want to take it to ours, that's why they have worksheet on them, is so that the tutors will help you with it. Okay, so it's not a quiz, it's not test. You're supposed to work collaboratively on getting these things done. So feel free to show up to a Zoom meeting. We have office hours. Feel free to put it in discussion. Feel free, you're not plagiarizing off somebody else. I mean, you are if you like absolutely copy somebody else's stuff, but one of the things that we're trying to impress upon you is problem solving techniques or problem solving skills. If you're going to be an engineer, that's one of those things that your boss is really going to want to see, problem solving skills. So these are meant for you to practice some problem solving skills. Okay. Sometime, and in the before times, I would encourage students to turn them in as many times as they would want. You don't have to leave until you get the answer you want, until you get the grade you want on it. Not true for quizzes, but for worksheets, like, I've had students show up. It's like, here, how'd this go? I'm like, well, that's terrible. Let's fix it. Okay, you should have done this instead of that. Okay. And then the student's like, oh, okay, that puts me in the right direction. Let me finish that. And then they turn it in, check plus, on your way. Okay, very good. So that's the point of the worksheets, is for you to have the freedom of messing up a little bit where it's not worth too many points, and you can turn them in multiple times, and I can fix them for you, or I can point you in the right direction to say, hey, try this instead. Okay, so I think here's what I'm trying to do here. So showing your work, I've seen a lot of social media posts about, well, I got the right answer. It's still important for you to share your work. This is mostly on for tests. And once when you take it to the assessment center, you take it to a testing center, it's going to be on paper. I want you to show me what you're doing and show your work. Okay. That's how I tell. So it's as much a tool for me as it is for you. That's how I'm telling, like, what mistakes are we making? What do we have to worry about? What do we have to fix? Okay, to get you through this part of being able to solve a problem. What are you getting stuck on? So it's helping you too. But if I just see the answers, I'm like, well, I could have consulted the tarot cards. I have no idea how you got that answer. So you have to show me how you got the answer. It's important to show your work. You're going to have bosses that are going to do that to you. You're going to have bosses that are going to say, hey, I see you solved this problem for us. That's great. Walk me through it. You're going to have to explain how you did this problem or how you solved this particular issue. Okay, so and this is pre-calculus. This is still a freshman level class. It gets harder. So and I don't mean to belittle freshman level class like this. College algebra can be brutal. Okay, And I get that for a lot of people, it is a brutal class. This is worse. Okay. This class is designed to crush your soul. So it is definitely brutal. And it gets, as you go up, it's going to get worse. And it's not, I'm not saying, you don't have the talent to do it. You probably do. It's persistence. That's really your key to being able to be successful in any college class is persistence. Like keep showing up, keep working on it. Okay. You're going to get frustrated. You're going to feel like, I don't know if I belong here. You do. Okay. Everybody feels like that. They really do. Everybody does. So if you're having doubts, like realize you are not the first person to feel this way. You are probably surrounded by many, many other people that have been successful once they got over that hump. So my job for this class is when you walk into a calculus class, you feel like you belong to be there. You deserve to be there. Okay, and I don't care if it's at Harvard, if it's at MIT, if it's at UNM, if it's wherever it is. You should walk into any calculus class and have a feeling of, I have the tools that I need in order to be able to survive in this class. Is it going to be hard? Sure. But you should be able to have the tools to get through it. Okay. Some of it's going to be a struggle. That's okay. It is for everybody. So don't, if you're having trouble, you're having second thoughts, like realize you are not the only one to have these issues. Okay. So that's just how it is for everybody, especially when you hit calculus. It's it's a different kind of thinking. Okay. There's been classes, especially when you get to the higher level ones, like we get done with the test, I go home and I watch Sesame Street because that's really all I could handle at that time. Okay. So you're not the only one to feel like, oh, this was awful. Like, yeah, sometimes it is, but you'll get through it. Okay. Just keep plugging at it. You'll get through it. Right. So hopefully that helps walks you through the syllabus a little bit. We have 3 quizzes. Each of them have 8 questions, 6 points each. The final exam is pretty much the same deal. Tests or homeworks and worksheets are half as much. Okay. And that's pretty much how I set the class up. I try to minimize the number of times you have to show up to a campus, but you do have to show up to a campus. You have to do your test in a proctored environment. The respondus thing wasn't working out as well as we wanted it to, and there's been some legal issues with that too. It's, to be honest, a little creepy. But so we don't have to do that, but you do have to show up someplace in person. Okay, scientific calculator, A-okay, but graphing calculator, you can't use a graphing calculator. Okay, so I will try to get Alex set up and ready to go for us tomorrow. And until next time, I will see you. Good luck. All right, thank you. Let's see if I can shut this off somewhere. There it is.